You know, even though it's almost 2020, people love to tell me to get back into the kitchen. Well, that is exactly what I'm doing this week. I'll be showing you how I did 5 quick and simple projects that can help squeeze out a tad bit more function out of just about anybody's kitchen space. You can do all of these projects in just a single day, and all of mine were made from scraps laying around already, so I didn't have to spend anything out of pocket. Let me show you the process on how to do each one. Real quick before jumping into the project, I want to thank this video's sponsor, which is Raid Shadow Legends, which is a turn-based RPG done right. I know you've heard about Raid, but there's a great reason for it. Raid is on Elf, the top 3 ranked RPGs on the Google Play Store. This game is crazy popular right now with almost 15 million downloads in the last 6 months. Raid is a hero collection, turn-based game with over 400 champions for you to collect and personally customize. And the best part, it's free to play. They are now adding more than 14 new champions every month, so there's always new strategies, new balance, and new warriors to play with. There are progression rewards, so you can get free champions, equipment, and more just for learning to play. Once you complete the missions, you'll get one of the best legendaries champions in the game, the Arbiter. The game is fast growing. Check out this cool roadmap they've just published. They actually have huge plans for updates in the game for over the next 6 months. So there is infinite content for you to enjoy. New faction, a tag team arena feature, and even a new clan boss you will be able to fight with your clan mates. You can find me on the game under the nickname Alley Oop, and if you're quick, you can also join my clan. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click the link, and you will instantly get 50,000 silver and free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your journey. Good luck, and I'll see you there. Now let's get to that project. Probably my favorite project is a live edge wine glass holder. I currently have a cabinet that holds my regular glasses, then a separate cabinet that holds my coffee mugs and beer pints. But I don't have additional room for martini glasses, gin glasses, or wine glasses, so I've decided to utilize the side of the cabinet. I'm using a live edge piece of mesquite I have left over from the dog food dispenser I recently made, and I first cut it to the length of my cabinet. To take care of the loose bark, I clamped it down to my armor tool workbench using my armor tool clamps, then just kind of used a jigsaw at an angle to trim off the excess. I did my best to leave that majority of the sapwood. After giving it a good sanding, I cut it down to size over at the table saw, and then used the bandsaw to cut in the slits that will hold the wine glass stems. To hang it on the cabinet, I'm going to be using my armor tool jig to drill a few pocket holes along the bottom. Now you do want to make sure that the sidewalls of your cabinet are thick enough to support something like this. If you have a thin cabinet wall, I would look into using a French cleat instead. One reason I went with mesquite, other than having some scrap laying around, is because it matches my current cabinets pretty well. But you can really use anything. I'll let my personal glasses dictate the height of this shelf. I really feel like a live edge piece of wood allows this project to be out in the open while still looking nice. I did the same process again, but this one to hold larger glasses such as gin glasses or even martini glasses. But let's say that you don't have the side of a cabinet to work with. Here's another solution to give you additional glass storage space. This one is going to be mounted underneath the cabinet. This one I'm using some scrap 3/4 inch plywood and also some scrap 1/4 inch plywood. I cut a few pieces over at the miter saw, ripped down a few sheets over at the table saw, and then started gluing things together. My intention is only to store 4 glasses, so I only made 3 holders. I'm using the fast-setting wood glue by Titebond called Quick and Thick. I'm attaching the flat portion to the blocky portion, and on 2 pieces I'm creating, I guess you can call it an L, and then on 1 piece I'm creating a T. What I'm doing is creating a railing system that I can install underneath the cabinet and hold on to the stem of glasses. Again, check the thickness of your cabinets here before you start attaching things. And also check the length of your screws so that you don't punch all the way through the bottom side of your cabinet. You can use the actual glasses you plan to store to space the railing apart here. And you can see that I didn't make them go all the way to the front of the cabinet. And that's so that there's a space to insert the glass into the railing and then also remove them without it hitting on the front lip of the cabinet frame. It's very simple to take off without having to duck down, and once you know it's there, it's also very easy to put them back without ducking down. Now let's look at utilizing some of this inside cabinet door space. This is the area of the kitchen island that I typically do my chopping at, so I would love to have a cutting board within reach, or a few of them. I've seen these before made out of wood, and I thought it would be really cool to make mine out of plexiglass instead so that you can see through it. So I grabbed a scrap piece of plexiglass, then cut it down to size over at my table saw using a crosscut sled. It's best if you make these holsters to your exact cutting boards that you're going to store. I wanted to store 2 per side if possible, so I stacked 2 on top of one another and marked a piece of wood. Again, I'm using mesquite since it sort of matches my cabinets already. I cut the piece of mesquite down into strips first over at the table saw, and then also used the table saw with a lower blade to cut in a small groove on each side that fits the plexiglass. And you can see I'm using a scrap piece there to test it. To attach the 2 parts, I'm once again using Quick and Thick, but this time because of its drying clear abilities. You don't want to use a glue that dries yellow because you're going to be able to see it through that plexiglass. I put that in clamps to set up until the glue was clear, and then I moved it inside to start installing it on the cabinet. Oh, and I also glued on a small little bottom, to keep the cutting boards from just falling straight through. When attaching it to the cabinets, again, I use Quick and Thick because it's reversible. I wanted to use a glue to where I would be able to pull these off should I ever want to. And with Quick and Thick, all you need to do is heat it up using something like a hair dryer and it will pop right off. After attaching one, I attach the other, and now I have 2 holsters within easy range that I can quickly grab up to 4 cutting boards. Now let's have a look at this silverware drawer. It makes sense that they can't make silverware trays to fit the drawer exactly because all drawers are different sizes, but that doesn't mean that you personally can't. I took everything out of the drawer, and I went ahead and took the whole drawer to the shop with me. Let's see, how do you get this? Is it this way? This way. What is, oh, there it is. Okay. After measuring the inside of the drawer, I used some 1/4-inch plywood to start making my parts. I laid out my silverware to where I would have 5 equal compartments spaced out through the whole thing. I used a speed square to mark off some pencil lines just for visual reference, then used my table saw to cut down some strips to match the dimensions. For the inside pieces, I used my bandsaw to cut out a slight curve shape. In this way, your hands will have an easier time reaching in and grabbing onto a piece of silverware whenever the compartments are full of them. To attach them, I'm using the visual reference, those pencil lines, and then also Titebond's Quick and Thick. This stuff is hard to beat with projects like this because it sets up so quickly. I can set it in place, hold it down for about 30 seconds before moving on to the next part. Then, after getting all of the parts put in, I then set it in clamps for about 15 minutes. During that time, I started making the bottom tray. Why do I have 2 pizza cutters? I don't need to. To figure out what the bottom tray should look like, I laid out the utensils that I wanted to keep in it, and then I just started building a frame around it. I ran out of my 1/4-inch plywood, so I just switched to 1/4-inch MDF instead. Everything's going to be painted, so honestly, it doesn't matter. When you're making this tray, you might have to compensate for the back of hardware, such as on the drawer pull. So it might need to be an 1/8 or a 1/16 short. After giving it a good painting, I set the bottom tray into place first, and it should be a snug fit because you don't want it moving around. And then I could set the silverware tray directly on top of it. To help it slide a little bit more, you can use some paste wax on either side and then also along the top rails of that bottom tray. And there we go. Now we just need to insert the drawer back into place. I'm doing this way. A little to the left, maybe the right. Oh, that worked. Now my miscellaneous utensils have their own storage spot along the bottom. Then the tray on top can be moved forward or backwards depending on what it is I need to reach in the bottom tray. And this will drastically increase the function of almost any drawer. In fact, I did the same thing for a drawer that used to only hold all of my Tupperware lids. This time I just put 2 rails on the bottom instead of building out a compartmentalized tray, but then built a custom tray on top that can hold all of my hot pads, my chip clips. All right, this time I'm gonna get it. Nope, angle's wrong. Maybe straighten it out. Ugh, there we go. I just combined 2 drawer contents into one by simply adding the railing system with a tray on top. So take a look at your personal drawers and what you're storing in them, and then how you can apply this technique. I'm tired of taking drawers in and out. Let's move on to the cabinets. This is my cabinet that holds the plates and bowls before. As you can see, there's only 3 shelves and a ton of wasted space. So I simply added in a few more shelves, which drastically increased what I was able to store in here. I started off by taking a shelf down to the shop with me so I can make 2 more to its exact size. and also try to match the color. I pulled some scrap from my rolling lumber rack, then stuck it in my super jaws and edge banded the front edge. I'm using a very generic oak edge banding here, and while it doesn't match 100%, it's certainly close enough. After cutting the edge band flush, I clear coated everything, again making the shelves look a little bit closer to my current ones. To attach them, the only thing I'm doing is counterboring some holes with a drill bit and then getting a dowel that fits inside of that hole. The shelf will rest directly on top of these pegs. I would drill the pegs on one side, put the shelf back into place, use a level to get a projected line on the other side, and then repeat the process. Again, you're going to want to check the thickness of your cabinet walls. You're going to want to counterbore at least 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch to insert that peg. And I found it easiest to go ahead and take the cabinet door off. If you're going to do this, take the door off the hinge, but leave the hinge on your cabinets. And this will make reinstalling it much easier. Once the pegs are in, then you can set the shelf directly in place, and that is yet another project done. Can y'all see that? Then, just as before, my plates can go back on their shelf, the bowls to their shelf, but now I have some additional room that I can store my soup cups, some disposable plates. Then for the thinner shelves, you can store cookbooks, maybe some cutting boards if you don't want to make the cutting board holsters. But I personally plan on using this thin shelf to store all of my Ziploc bags, and this will free up yet another drawer for me. Also, if you're interested in other kitchen projects, don't forget that I have a free plan over on my website for a utensil holder as well as a fruit basket tray. These are 2 projects I did a few years ago, but I still use them in my current kitchen. And something else I have available and personally use is a fresh egg holder. Alright, 5 quick and simple projects that can help increase the function of your kitchen. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your favorite one is, or if you have something else on your to-do list to store in the kitchen. Me personally, I still need to figure out something for my pots and pans as well as my spices. So those are going to be upcoming videos for you guys. Hope that you enjoyed this, and of course if you have questions on anything I used, I have links for you down below. I will see you on my next project.